guys, this is Mike from Eldorado Guitars, and I'm coming at you today with a very special Thanksgiving edition of Eldorado Guitars. So I want to talk to you today about a new amp that I've gotten, the Benson Vincent. This amp is completely awesome. I got an insane deal on this amp. It's not an amp I honestly probably ever would have tried because, you know, I'm more of a rocker, right? A harder rocker. But this amp has really blown me away and really surprised me. And I took a chance on it because I got a great deal. And wow, has it been worth it? This is a never sell amp for me. Anyhow, so in this video, I want to show you a new way to run your Benson Vincent that I really haven't seen any other YouTubers doing. And so I kind of want to talk about how I run this amp. But first, I want to show you kind of two ways I typically see people running it. And then I'll show you my way, and then I'll explain why I think my way is better. So the first way I see people typically run this amp is they run it with the clean channel volume pretty low. Usually it's something like 3, right? And then they run the dirt channel with the gain set pretty high, something like 7 or 8, or, you know, like I'll put it on 8, right? And that's usually what people do. Most people I have noticed do turn the treble up on the clean channel quite a bit, and I've done that as well. Most people do run the bass a bit higher than I do, so I'm gonna turn that up just a little bit to like 4, just to kind of show you how most people do it, okay? So this is the way I see most people run this amp, okay? And that is setting your clean channel very clean, which is what we just did, and then setting your gain channel very pretty aggressive, right? So this is what it sounds like, okay? So here's your bridge pickup with all controls at 10. This is a Suhr Thornbuckers in this guitar, okay? So these aren't the standard PRS pickups. All right, so here's the clean tone. Neck pickup. You know, and then you can get some split coil sounds like something like this, right? Then they do the dirt channel, right? And they set that pretty aggressively. So you'll hear it gets pretty fuzzy and pretty aggressive pretty quickly. I'll go back to the bridge pickup, full power. Okay, so that's typically the first way I see people running this amp. And the reason they run it this way, I think, is because they want some really clean, they want a really clean channel, and then they want a really gained out channel. That's pretty common for a lot of amps, right? People want a clean channel and an overdrive channel. And so this accommodates that, right? This setup accommodates that. The second thing is that clean channel is then very easy to use as a pedal platform if you want to put like a more aggressive pedal in front of it, like not an overdrive. You want to put like a distortion pedal, right? Like a BEOD pedal or something, right? Or a Friedman small box pedal or something, right? You could put in front of it. So the advantages to doing this is that you get a really clean and a really gain. So that's the advantage. We'll come back to the negatives when I show you the way I run it, okay? So that's the first way. Second way I see people run this amp is pretty similar to this, but what they usually do is they just turn this clean volume up more. And this is for like the kind of like Rhett Shull type characters of the world. I'm not trying to make fun of them. I'm just saying, right, these like edge of breakup people, right? So a second but less common way I see people running this amp is to put the volume on like 5 or 6. You know, like I'm gonna put it on like 5.5, okay? And then you're gonna see how it sounds on the clean channel. And then they usually also run the gain channel pretty aggressively. And I think what they do is they're using this channel as like an edge of breakup for like low and kind of like low to medium gain sounds. Then they'll put an overdrive in front of it to get it to drive harder. And then they'll use this as like a solo channel, okay? So that sounds something like this. So here's the edge of breakup sound. Same pickup, same everything, 10, right? Here's the neck. okay? And then what they'll do is they'll use this as a solo channel. So for example, I'll flip over and they'll use this for like a lead, right? So they'll be doing their edge of breakup thing, you know, like. And then they'll kick this on for a solo. Okay, so that's the second way, right? The advantages to this way are, like I mentioned, you can run a lot of pedals into this clean channel at edge of breakup, right? You can run like a JHS Bonsai or a Maxon 808 or like you know, a clean boost, right? Like a Spark, right? Or a clone or whatever, right? And then you do get a nice solo channel here. Okay, so it's cool, right? It's cool, but that's the second way. Now let me show you my way, okay? So this is the third way, I think is the best way to run this amp, and I'm gonna explain to you why. So the third way to run this amp, the way I run it, is I run channel 1 very aggressively, okay? So I run the master extremely high. So for my way, you're gonna need an attenuator, all right? So I think that the reason why a lot of people run this channel very clean is because it's a non-master volume amp, right? There's no master. So you have to basically, a lot of people just don't have they can't tolerate the volumes, right? The volume is too much. By the time you get to 3 or 4, the amp is already very loud, right? And so that's probably why they run it that way. And then they run it this with the gain so that they can control the volume of the gain as well, right? So running this lower gives you more control over the volume. Edge of breakup, if you can tolerate a little more volume, right, will give you some of that tube juiciness, right? And then of course you can put pedals and things in front of it. But the magic of non-master volume amps isn't having the volume at 3 or 5 and then throwing a bunch of pedals in front of it, in my opinion. If you have a non-master volume amp, you gotta crank it, man. Like, you gotta crank it. These old style amps, I know that this is a new production amp, okay, but this amp has much more in common with like an old Jubilee or a old Plexi, or even this AFD 100, right? They have to be run loud. These old Marshalls and old circuits, they're designed to have tube breakup and compression in the power section as part of the sound. So if you run, for example, this Jubilee that's here, if you run this Jubilee, like I think I have the masters right now at 8, right? The master's at 8. I think the master on this AFD is at 9, right? You've got to run them hot, because if you don't, they sound very thin and anemic and strange, right? Because they're built to be cranked. Their sound balance, the ideal sound, is loud, right? So it's the same thing with the Benson. Even though it's not a Marshall, right? And and you know, these have master volumes and this doesn't, you still need to run it really loud, right? It's got to be ran loud. And that's where the magic is going to happen. So you're going to need an attenuator because the volume is going to be absolutely deafening. But with an attenuator, check this out, okay? So I'm going to go from 5 up to where I normally set it, which is just shy of 9. And I want you to listen with your ears, okay? I'm going to play the same riff and I'm going to turn it up 1 notch at a time. And I want you to listen and you're going to hear the magic, okay? You're going to hear it and you're going to hear why I set it this way, all right? So I'm going to turn the bass all the way down because that's how I run it, right? And I leave the treble at 7. That's where I run it, okay? So here's where we just were on the clean channel. Here's 5, okay? And I'm just going to do it on the bridge pickup, all right? So you can hear. Here we go. So here's 5. Okay. Here's 6. Okay, keep listening. Here's 7. Hear it? It's starting to happen. Okay, do you hear it? It's starting to happen. What's happening is the amp is starting to break up. It's starting to collapse in on itself, right? So what you're getting now is you're getting the lows are kind of coming into focus a little bit, but they're not distorted yet. Listen. Just a little, right? But listen to the top end. The top is starting to get that tube sparkle and grit in the best possible way. So let's go a little further. Let's go to 8. Okay, so you can hear we're getting there, right? But you heard when I was pulling and stuff a little bit there, it just needs a little more, right? It just needs like a tiny, tiny, tiny bit. So I'm gonna go up to just shy of 9, literally 1 notch shy of 9, okay? And here's where I normally run this, okay? Bass 0, treble 7, gain, or I'm sorry, volume just shy of 9, and here's the magic, man, here it is. There's the magic, right? Did you hear it? Did you hear it, right? Listen, the lows really firm up, right? And get a little bit of gain, listen. But the highs just like punch through, right? So listen. That's the sound, right? Like the harmonics, the saturation, the compression, like it's all there. Listen to the under the fingers on this. All the feel is there. Okay, now you're probably like, yo Mike, but if I run it your way, I'm gonna lose my cleans. No, you're not. Actually, your cleans are gonna be better running it this way. Let me show you, okay? Let me show you again. So when we take the volume all the way back to 3, right? Listen to the cleans now, okay? So listen to these cleans. I'm gonna use, I'll use the neck and the bridge just to show you, okay? So here's the bridge. Here's the neck. Good, right? Okay, go up to edge of break up at 5. Here's the bridge. Here's the neck. Now this way it's a little too distorted, so I'm gonna bring the volume down just a little to compensate. Excuse me, to get it to clean up, okay? So here's it again with the volume rolled back, edge of breakup. Okay, so what I'm hearing in those two, before I show you the way I run it, is when I had it on 3, it was pretty sparkly, but, and it's beautiful, right? I want to be clear, it's a beautiful clean, and I love the beautiful cleans on this. Don't misunderstand, I'm not saying setting it 3 is bad. But what I'm saying is the clean sounds kind of a little muffled, right? Like if you listen to it here, right, like listen, it's kind of a little muffled. Do you hear the frequencies in there? They're a little strange, right? And at edge of breakup, they sounded a bit anemic. So when I lowered the volume from 10 to like 7, it just sounded a little anemic to me. Listen. Sounds good, right? But just a little anemic. I think maybe it lost a little something. But watch this. When we run it all the way up at just shy of 9, like we were doing before, right? Where we had this crazy gained out tone on our bridge pickup, right? Your cleans are actually gonna be better, watch. So I'm gonna flip to the neck pickup and let me show you a clean. it's even better than both of those. And when I do something like the split position, like check this out. It's even better. The lows are better, the mid-range is alive, it's not muddled, it's not you know, muddy, and the top is so bright. I mean, listen. And you still get all the touch sensitivity and compression because the master's jacked. So listen. It's a better clean than when it was lower, right? Why? Because the master is jacked. Because you've got the tubes are now, the amp is collapsing in on itself, the tubes are hot and running hot, you're getting a bunch of compression, you're getting a little bit of nice sag, you're getting more harmonic content, you're getting all the harmonic content of the power section, right? Even on a clean sound. Right? So in my opinion, this is way better. And you can even turn it up a little more to like a 5 or 6 and still get your edge of breakup tones. Here's the split position again at 5. Or I can kick it over to the bridge and pull it up to like 6 and get a really gritty sound. Right? It's there, all the controls you need are here, right? So don't set this clean channel so low thinking like, oh, I want to make sure I get a really clean. You can get a really clean with the master jack. Just use your volume and tone controls, right? I mean, look, I'll split it and I'll come to the neck here at 5 with the P rail here in single coil mode. And listen, we're going to get a beautiful fat tone. Like, check this out. Did you hear that sustain on a clean tone, right? Why do we get that beautiful clean and we get that sustain and that compression? Because we have the master cranked, right? So my way to run it is to crank it. There's no doubt in my mind that if you get a Benson Vincent, get an attenuator and do this because it's going to change your opinion of the amp. Okay, now one more thing I want to cover before we go and this video gets too long. So you're probably like, all right, Mike, that's great, but what about the dirt channel? What are you doing with the dirt channel? Or just using it as like this crazy fuzz platform? No, I'm not. So when you run the amp like this, the front end of the amp is already getting hit pretty hard, right? Because it's collapsing, right? So like you've got a pretty aggressive tone here that can do like an AC/DC thing, right? I mean, this is just clean channel, right? Okay, so it's already a pretty aggressive tone, right? Now what I like to do is use the dirt channel as a boost. So what does that mean? That means I do not run the gain really high like the two other methods, right? In method 1 and method 2 of running this amp, the gain was set pretty high on both of those, right? In the first one, it was because you needed an actual appreciable distortion channel. And with the edge of breakup sounds, you wanted to use it as a big, thick soloing sound, right? That's how I see most people doing it, right? So what I do is I run this really low. I put it on like 2 or 3, and then I just use it as an overdrive. So check this out, right? I'm gonna put it on 3. So here's my sound with everything at 10, okay? Everything at 10. it on the dirt. So that's for soloing, but you can also just use it as a boost, right? So suppose you're playing like, you know, your AC/DC thing or whatever, and you're like, and you're just like, you know, but maybe you're like, okay, but I wish it just had a little more snarl, right? Pop on the boost, man. So I love to just use this as a boost. And you can do it at any volume level because the amp is maxed out here. So check this out, right? So like what if we're on the clean channel, right? And let's say we have like a kind of, you know, more chimey clean dialed in like we had before. So I'm on the middle now, both pickups, and on 5, right? So here's what we've got. And then let's say you want to jump to a more aggressive sound all of a sudden. All you got to do, even though I'm only on 5 here, all you got to do is hit this and you're going to get a boost. You can almost just use this as another channel. Right? So like if you run the gain really, or your volume really low, and I pull this out, and I'm running single coil mode again, I mean, check this out. That's on the dirt channel, right? Here's my clean. Right? So you can use this like as a second channel. And one other trick I'll give you really quickly is if you feel like with the overdrive on, sometimes the lows get a little mushy on this amp. So like listen, like I actually don't know if that's the right way to play Barracuda. But what you can do is instead of 10, you can just lower your volume to like 8 and it'll tighten up. Listen, so here's 10. Here's 8. Right? So that, you know, you've got easy options for how much you want to kind of clean it up, right? And then of course, you know, this is a more mid-forward voicing on this channel. If you want to go back to a crunch, you just go back to clean, right? And you've got it, man. Put it on 8, right? So that's my recommended way to run this amp. So, you know, I think the pros of this way is you can still get all the great Benson sounds. And in fact, I think they're made even better by the master being so high because the amp is starting to compress in on itself and collapse in on itself, right? So you get all that beautiful, you know, tube, sag, saturation, distortion, that under the finger feel, this thing that happens. Like, listen to this. mean, it's like you literally can just pull and create sound. It's amazing, right? Like it compresses so much, but in a really pleasant way. So that's my recommended way to run this amp. Get yourself an attenuator and check it out. Even if you're not a rocker, this is going to make your experience with the Vincent, I think, a lot better. And you know, then you've got this beautiful boost that you can apply here on the dirt channel. And again, think about this for a minute. You're pushing a distorted power section into a distorted power section. So that's why this channel just gets like all the tube goodness. I mean, like you can do anything with this channel. I mean, all right, guys, this is Mike from Eldorado Guitars. I hope you had a good time checking out the Benson with me today and the way that I run it. If you like this video, please like and subscribe, and hope you guys have a happy Thanksgiving. See ya.